and you can't find lumber to build a new home. Well, you can't find products to stock the shelves of your small business. You can't find holiday gifts. Well, it's all because of the global supply chain crisis that's happening right now. It's an economic fallout from the pandemic, and President Biden announced a package of measures to hopefully break the logjam and get things moving again. Our Kaylee Hartung is in Los Angeles and has been on this story since the very beginning. Hi, Kaylee.
So, Kira, as we talk about this crisis in the supply chain that's threatening holiday shopping, here's your visual. Just as toys and bikes and sneakers become harder to find on the shelves, there's a good chance they're piled up in some of these containers. I just spoke with the International Longshoremen and Warehouse Union leaders who tell me some of these containers have been here for weeks. Some of these companies are using this dock space just like a warehouse and can't move their product. They need truck drivers to show up. They need orders to be put in to get these goods onto the highway and into stores. You know, President Biden has announced his strategy to try to solve this crisis, announcing, among other things, that he wanted the Port of Los Angeles right here to be open 24/7. He wants so many pieces in the supply chain puzzle to be operating 24/7, including UPS and FedEx, stores like Walmart. The union leaders here telling me they've been available to work 24/7. They need those other players in the supply chain here at the port to do their part, to put in the orders and get them helping out. President Biden has released this strategy to try to solve this shipping crisis. Will President Biden's plan work?
Well, let's just step back to see what that plan is. It's the new theme song is that we're open. The Port of Los Angeles is open 24/7. So we have always been open 24 hours a day. So it's not something new. It's just something where people are getting stimulated to come pick up their cargo at different times of hours of the night, day and night. So we've always been here. We've always been available. And if the other parts of the supply chain decide on buying into that plan, the congestion should ease.
So again, some of these containers here for weeks, Kira, and the union leaders telling me this crisis isn't going to be over anytime soon. There's no switch to flip to turn this operation into 24/7 at every piece of this puzzle. They warned me this crisis could continue into next year's holiday season. Kira.
I sure hope not. Kaylee Hartung there from the largest port in the country, by the way, Los Angeles. Thank you so much, Kaylee. Well, these global supply chain issues severely impact the distribution of goods on an international scale, and as we've seen, have a very visible effect here in the United States. Sharply higher prices for food and energy, but also cars, clothing, and furniture, among other goods and services, is an everyday issue that is directly hurting consumers' wallets. So how can you expect it to hit yours? ABC News business correspondent Deidre Bolton joining us now, hopefully with the answer to that question and more. Deidre, give us the big picture, okay? How will the price hikes from the shipping backlog that we're watching and Kaylee explained affect the pricing on everyday essentials that people need from day to day? I mean, I'm already seeing it when I go into various stores. Empty shelves, higher prices. It's right in front of our face.
That is exactly right, Kira. It is already here. And I just want to give you or share with you this big picture view that I have heard from business leaders. For example, CEO of Columbia Sportswear, from economists, from people who own software and logistics companies. Each one of them has told me, we have never seen anything like this. It is a unique set of circumstances. In some cases, Kira, as you say, we're already seeing it, and quite frankly, there's not that much that consumers can do about it. I'm thinking of something simple like petrochemicals, right? We don't often think of that day to day, but that affects somebody who's redoing his or her bathroom, right? That means paints are in scarce supply or more expensive. PVC piping, again, that's used in so many plumbing projects. So for those kinds of big goods, really just patience is important, and most consumer advocates tell me, listen, if you see something that you think is fairly priced for a project that you need to do, just buy it, because maybe it won't be there in a month, or maybe it will be at a much higher price. Food-wise, you alluded to that as well. A lot of people that I've been speaking with here locally say the best thing to do is to buy local. If you can go to a farmer's market, if you can go to a store that is sourced by local providers that should help contain some of the costs, in that those truck drivers are not moving cross country or to a different part of where you are, and that is one way to manage at least food costs. Kira.
That's actually great advice. I mean, I'm all about supporting the local farmers. And Biden is pushed for double production from domestic companies now to offset the global production chain issues. There's also a labor shortage that we're facing in the United States. We've talked about that. How do we navigate this, economic so-called tug-of-war?
It's really difficult, Kira, because even when you see companies that are trying to bypass certain supply chain problems, so I'm thinking of Target, I'm thinking of Walmart, they actually went out and chartered their own ships to get their own goods over here so that when people want to do their holiday shopping, that they don't see empty shelves, the ones you were talking about. But even in that case, they still have to use the same ports, as our colleague was telling us. So there are these different pockets, and one expert described the situation to me as whack-a-mole. He said, even if you fix one problem, another problem just pops up. So the general advice seems to be, if you need something, without making people go into a spending frenzy, just whatever it is, buy it now.
Right. Okay, well, that's good advice. Kind of stresses you out a little bit, because then you start worrying about everything as you're looking forward. And also, too, on top of that, we're seeing images of all these boats and these cargo ships stranded out at ports. We saw it right behind Kaylee Hartung's live shot, and they're unable to dock. They're unable to unload all the goods. So what's the exact logistical cause of this? Can you pinpoint it?
We can pinpoint it to a few key areas. The one thing that I think maybe a lot of people don't realize is that 3 international shipping conglomerates control about 80% of the world's shipping. So it really didn't take much to destabilize the system. And you put into place this idea that international shipping was always a just-in-time kind of mechanism. And the idea was to be very price efficient. But when the pandemic hit and you had dock workers get sick, for some cities, you have ports that just closed down, docks that just closed down. So it really did not create, let's say, that big of an opportunity, or I should say it created a very big opportunity for chaos. And then you add in some of these other layers that we have been talking about, which are worker shortages, for example, product shortages. And you pair that, Kira, with this incredible demand. If you think of the auto industry, which quite frankly, any of the business leaders in them will tell you, we actually canceled our chip orders. We didn't even think Americans would buy cars. We thought we were going into a recession. And quite the opposite happened, right? The more people that were nervous about getting on public transportation, the more they actually wanted cars. So you put together these pieces. That is to say, the just-in-time shipping mechanism, the fact that 3 companies are kind of controlling the world's shipping, and the pandemic, and you pair that with an insane amount of demand, right? People were home, they wanted furniture, they were sick of looking at that old room that they never redid. They started buying. The people who have jobs have actually never had more money. They're not commuting, they're not traveling, they're not going out. So they have tons of money, and they spent it on buying goods. So then you had increased demand at a time when the system was really clunky and weakened. Long story short, it's a perfect storm.
Right. All right, we're going to get technical for a minute. The Labor Department announced that a key inflation reading, the Consumer Price Index, jumped 5.4% in September. That's compared to last year. And it looks like all of these problems are poised to get worse. So, of course, what every day American is asking, how is this going to impact my holiday season, my holiday shopping?
Most people, most experts that I've been reaching out to say it is normal to expect price increases depending on the good or the service of between 10 and 15%. That's going to be hard to avoid. Some of the bigger retailers are actually just absorbing the cost. They're absorbing these extra labor costs. They're absorbing higher shipping costs. They're absorbing it. But smaller and medium-sized businesses may not be able to do that. That might just put them out of business. The larger ones, at least the business leaders that I have been speaking with, they say we're just going to basically eat the difference for this holiday season. So it depends where you shop. But you mentioned that 5.4% figure, Kira. We haven't, I just want to put this in context, because we haven't seen that number that high since 2008. So it just really shows you how hot, as economists talk about, inflationary pressures are at this moment. So we're all probably going to spend a little bit more on the goods that we normally would have and gifts for the holiday season, Kira.
I guess I should have asked you, for the sake of my kids, is this going to in any way impact Santa Claus and his journey?
I was going to say, as long as Santa Claus is not on his ship, if he's not on a freightliner, maybe we have, so he has the reindeer.
Stick with the sleigh,
maybe he can
right?
avoid some of the extra transport costs.
Go to the farms, get the fresh carrots for the deer, and we're all good.
That's right.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Deidre.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.